even though mom is not actually here today. She already let me know she isn't going to be there, but she does say hi. Welcome, you guys, to a Wednesday watch party here on the watch list. I'm JR, of course. We've been doing this for a minute now, and this is the first time we're going to start early. I've got so many things happening. I woke up earlier this morning. I got on the computer, and man, I got flooded. My brain apparently was looking for as many things as possible to talk about today. And yo, it was crazy. There's so many things. I wanted to go in so many deep details of all this. I've been hearing from you guys as some of you guys messaged me over on Instagram. Of course, please follow me over there. If you haven't yet, I'm very receptive over there. I like to speak to you guys directly to see all that you're thinking about and maybe on some of these stories that we're talking about. I also post a lot of things that are on my mind or things that I've created that aren't necessarily running on the live or also are videos from these clips that we then put up on the watch list channel. But for the few of you guys that are here early, the super nerds of mine, you're in for some extra stories because I have to get straight into it. It's insane the things that are happening. But I do want to let you guys know if you're enjoying it, go ahead, like, subscribe, share this stream, let the folks know what we're doing. It's a casual approach to these time frames. So yes, I am starting 15 minutes early for anybody that's here. Glad that you are. Common Sense 2 says hello, glad you're here. 13 of you guys are jumping in early. Glad y'all are super nerds on this whole thing. Let's go ahead and get started since I'm here early. And why talk away the extra early time that we've got? Let's go straight into the situation that's going on in Texas. We know about Democrats that are leaving the state, but I want to show you guys what's going on in the state with the people there and what they've been trying to tell their leaders. Let's go here to set the stage.
Our warning was screaming down the road. That was our warning.
Our confidence has been shaken by the lack of coordination, chain of command glitches, and time taken to issue a code red, as well as the lack of the warning system and on that was discussed earlier. And what comes to my mind is a word that hasn't been brought up yet, and that is complacency.
The only thing more powerful than the flood has been the outpouring of volunteers and community members who have taken it upon themselves to help us recover. Assistance and prompt guidance from our local government regarding our rebuilding efforts have been non-existent. I have met no local county officials in Hunt or in my neighborhood, nor have I encountered anyone from the state.
All this millions of dollars that come from all over the place getting donated, where in the hell's that going? It ain't going to the volunteers, you know? I mean, where? You know, my God, I've got volunteers. I got the time they showed up, the time they left, and I can't afford to pay them. But they did it out of the kindness of the heart. All that money is going to some politician's slush fund somewhere.
The president and the governor sat here in this building promising that we would have every resource that we need to rebuild. And the very next Monday, the first thing our county judge put on the table was an 8% property tax hike.
I'm a volunteer, and like many others, friends, neighbors, and strangers from across the state, we showed up because help was needed. By the time government entities were seen on the scene, we had already recovered bodies, coordinated supply chains, brought in heavy equipment, served hot meals, provided medical care, and tried, often unsuccessfully, to get help across a broken bridge. Volunteers were threatened with arrest for attempting to deliver supplies to areas that needed them.
I do not believe there is a proper structure of who is in charge, and there is no clear indication of what power can be executed by whom. We are all exhausted by trying to figure out who's in charge, and we are all exhausted by the abuse of power.
Through it all, help did not come from official channels. It came from volunteers, contractors, nurses, teachers, business owners, off-duty responders, parents. Regular working class Texans and grassroots organizations stepped in when the system failed.
Those are citizens of Texas. They got a chance to tell their elected leaders what it is that they're not doing, what it is that they have to do. These folks instead to replace them, where there's absolutely zero leadership, there's nothing going on, there's no coordination. As a matter of fact, one of those volunteers talked about how they were being threatened to stop helping. This, of course, coming from leaders who said before, you guys need to get help from your churches, from your local communities, because FEMA's doing nothing for you anymore. Donald Trump has already told you that FEMA is now his. He wants all of that money for himself. And the trauma and the disaster and the fatigue that these folks are feeling isn't even just start and ends with the disaster, but also continues on with the lack of response from leadership. At the time that Texas flood happened, I want you guys to remember what Mike Johnson had to say about what it is that leaders from state to federal leaders could do about it. You won't be surprised.
That state and federal resources have just poured into that area. Is there anything more that can be done congressionally, legislatively to help these folks?
In a moment like this, we feel just as helpless as everyone else does. I've talked to my colleagues there in Texas, Chip Roy and August Pfluger, whose families, that's Chip's district. August's daughters were at the camp. We also had Betty Carter of Georgia, had grandchildren there. It touches so many families, and all we know to do at this moment is pray. Every available resource has been deployed. The president, of course, is dialed in and watching this develop moment by moment as we are, and we'll handle supplemental funding requests as they come in. But right now, they're still trying to do rescue and recovery, and our hearts go out to all of them.
All Mike Johnson has are some thoughts and some prayers. There's nothing they can do. Also, as you saw, that Fox News anchor said, resources and help are flooding in, for lack of a better term. But according to the people on the ground, all the way up to now, it's been this long since the flood even happened, and the response still being nothing. Somehow there's resources flooding in. That's just propaganda, because when you talk to the people who are experiencing it, they can't find anyone that's there to help. But this is what Texas leadership is doing instead. Here's the governor of the state. This is what he's been focused on as he's putting out statements and letters about how he's coming after Democrats for trying to make sure they don't gerrymander the state further, so that these folks who are going to be voted out because of responses like this, he wants to make sure that they withhold their power, and not even that, but increase it, because there's a fascist president who told him to. So continue to pay attention to what people are experiencing, Republican, Democrat, or independent, in the state of Texas. And this is what leadership has to say, and this is what they're actually working on.
You said in your statement that you put out today to all of them, in a letter to them, you said, in addition to abandoning their offices, these legislators may also have committed felonies. What is the felony? What are the penalties for this?
So very simply, it would be bribery if any lawmaker took money to perform or to refuse to perform an act in the legislature. And the reports are these legislators have been both, they sought money and they offered money to skip the vote, to leave the legislature, to take a legislative act. That would be bribery. And so the facts will have to come out. But I think based upon comments made by legislators themselves, they face a possibility of facing bribery charges, which is a second-degree felony in the state of Texas. There's one way to cure that. And that is if they get back to the state of Texas and make quorum today at a hearing that we have at 3 o'clock, they can cure themselves of any quid pro quo that would subject them to potential bribery charges.
All right. You said in your statement that you put out.
This is how authoritarians act. Completely ignoring the will of the people, completely ignoring the problems that they're faced with because of the disaster that this administration, along with this entire party, has set upon them. And instead, he's focusing on bringing up these random charges against Democrats who are trying to keep them from making sure they add 5 seats so they can continue to ignore constituents. When is Governor Greg Abbott, who stuttered his way through that bullshit line, going to finally do something for the people of his state? He knows that they know he's not going to do anything for the people of the state. So he's making sure that they can't get rid of any other folks who are supporting him, who's supporting Donald Trump, who said, we're not doing anything for the people of this state. Forget all those little girls and camp counselors who died at the camp that was heavily detailed of the disasters and the trauma that happened. Forget about the people who were flooded out of their homes from these levels of flooding and rainfall that they hadn't seen since forever. Forget about the fact that they limited the effectiveness of the National Weather Service and the warning systems that were supposed to be put in place for years before this even happened, because Republicans like this run the state of Texas, and they say, you guys want more of us. They know it's a lie. That's why they're looking to gerrymander, and that's why Democrats left, and that's why now then it's shifted to this type of rhetoric. Let's listen to more from actual people from Texas. This is one particular man from Texas who has a problem with the approach they're taking, as if people don't understand what's really going on. These are Texans.
Please give us your testimony.
I drove here 3 hours to get here. I came from Abilene, Texas. And if I'm willing to drive 3 hours to come here and talk, I'm gonna ask you to get off your phone and listen to what I have to say. You got a call from Donald Trump. He told you to go find 5 seats. No, he got asked, how many seats? He said 5. He was asked on the news. You say, we don't have any maps. Well, how in the hell does Donald Trump know he's going to get 5 seats? I bet you anything there's maps that are there. This is ridiculous. A man a few days ago was arrested because he spoke too long at the lectern. He spoke too long and y'all said, oh, he had to be arrested because he broke the rules. How many of you are going to get arrested for breaking the rules of mistreating the citizens of this state? You're breaking the rules. We are the citizens of this nation. We're the ones, it's supposed to be bottom up, not top down. I'm going to say this one thing to you. You know it's wrong. In your heart, you know it's wrong.
Of course they do. And yesterday I talked about how Michigan Representative Lisa McClain went on CNN to talk about how the people who show up and get upset at town halls or events like this are bussed in by Democrats because they don't care. They dismiss you. And then when talking about the situation with Democrats using the only tool they have in place to keep these fascists from taking even more power with their grabs, she said they're just fake people. She doesn't care more about this whole thing because as they try to act like this whole idea of their gerrymander is something that Republicans have to have their last resort for to respond to what Democrats have been doing, they ignore the fact that the vast majority of the most gerrymandered states are Republican-led states. It's a tool that they use. And as a matter of fact, if they don't like that tool that they use way more than Democrats do, maybe they should listen to what Jessica Tarloff said. She's on Fox News. She's the one liberal, I guess, Democrat establishment person, who knows, that comes on and actually states some facts for these folks who carry the water for them. And I feel like she may not have a job too much longer, because every time they tell these lies, she comes with facts to dispute exactly how this Republican Party works. Continuing down, here's Jessica Tarloff.
But the idea that people are watching this happen, or at least people who vote like I do or have similar values, to me, are seeing this just as people running away from their job is ludicrous. What they are seeing is the fact that Donald Trump called up Greg Abbott, and redistricting is supposed to happen once every 10 years. That's when the census happens. He's saying, I want a mid-cycle redistrict because I only have a three-seat majority and I need a bigger cushion. So get me 5 more seats. So Greg Abbott calls a special session, not about the flooding, not about what happened in Camp Mystic, but so that he can steal seats from Democrats so that Jazzy won't be able to have her seat any longer. It's important to remind people that in 2021, there was a bill, the For the People Act, H.R. 1, and it would have banned all gerrymandering, and every single Democrat voted for it, and every single Republican voted against it. Republicans want it this way. They want to use this to their advantage. And of course, there are some states, if you can do it, why wouldn't you get as many seats as possible? But the way in which Abbott is going about this has made people, even like Eric Holder, who runs an organization that is fundamentally against this, change his tune, because the California proposal, and Newsom has been out front on this as well, only has this happen for a few years. So it will go back to normal cadence and the independent commissions will come back into play. But if you don't fight fire with fire, what are we supposed to do? In a midterm, you're supposed to pick up seats. So we're supposed to just sit there and take it like this? That's why Hochul says that we are at war. And it looks that way to me, and I'm someone who doesn't usually argue for this kind of behavior. What is unfair is in Texas, 45% of the vote goes to Democrats. They would only get 21% of the seats.
It's just facts. And they can't have much to say to dispute it except for stupid jokes, which I think one of the idiots on the panel must have called Representative Jasmine Jazzy. That's why she referred back to Jazzy and made fun of the way he was talking. That's all they've got on that show while she delivers facts. Matter of fact, she goes on to other aspects of Fox News and delivers those similar facts. In case you missed it, this is the fact about what it was when they tried to halt these gerrymandering redistricting plans. And again, she's going to tell you who voted for it and who voted against it.
There was a bill in 2021 that all the Democrats supported that would have had a national ban on redistricting in this way, and all the Republicans opposed it. I also heard no complaints from any Republican when Mike Johnson, just a couple weeks ago, decided to abdicate his job to say, actually, Congress isn't in session anymore because I don't want to have to vote on turning over the Epstein files, the bill put forward by Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie. He said, let's go home rather than talk about the fact that Donald Trump may or may not have been in there.
All right.
So be equal opportunity in your complaints about fleeing your job. At least they're doing this for a good reason.
Tommy,
Martha McCollum couldn't have anything to say. You saw the anchor on the left. She's like, oh, yeah, you got us on that. On the fact that they vote down bans on gerrymandering while they're complaining and claiming that it's all Democrats want and do. Then claiming that they're running away from their jobs, completely ignoring the fact that Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, the same guy who said, F those kids after that flooding happened, all I got is a couple thoughts and prayers for you, that he told the rest of his congressional colleagues to take off. In fact, shut down Congress so they don't have to talk about Epstein files anymore, while at the same time claiming that they want all the information to come out about said Epstein files. They tell so many lies, and they flip it on its head when the audience is different to make it sound like they care about the things that they're actionably making sure they don't care about. It's saying one thing and doing the other. And now in this case, Republicans voted against banning gerrymandering years ago. So if they have a problem with gerrymandering, maybe they should bring up another bill and support it this time. But it's what they use to try and hold on any little semblance of power so that then Donald Trump can then claim he had a landslide mandate victory in the election, which he absolutely did not, even with the setups that they've been putting in place. But back to the beginning of this whole thing. Those folks are dying, they're suffering, they're being threatened by the very same people to stop helping. That's what Texans are talking about versus what Texas leadership is talking about. And this is all part of the way that they run this state, and honestly, the parts of their country, the country that they control. It's the Republican Party. It's the reason why people are so upset at them. So next time you talk about someone having Trump derangement syndrome, or you guys just hate them because you hate them, their actions show how much they hate Americans. Look at their actions, not the lies that they tell. It's exorbitant, the number of lies that these folks tell. What's the reason to like anything about them? They're stealing from you and they're looking to kill you. And for anyone that helps, they want to keep you from helping. That's leadership in this country. That's why we're falling apart right now. I'm going to show you a couple of Republicans that this first one, at least, claims to be a Trump supporter. And he's finding out in real time how his policies are hurting the very people that Trump claims to be supporting and wanted to help out with his tariff policies. This is slightly separate, but it's a good indication of what people who support this party actually sees as results. Words versus actions. Watch this.
All right, for those of you that say buy American-made equipment, the tariffs won't affect you. This is American-made heat treating furnaces. July 17th, 2024, base price $519. July 23rd, 2025, base price $612. The thermocouple interface upgrade, $14,900, $16,700. The loader, $10,200. The loader, $11,400. Two 1,000 gallon tanks, gas backup reservoirs, $39,400, $44,300. Spare parts kit, same stuff, $18,100, $20,400. So this is my point, and this is what I'm getting at. We're trying to build American manufacturing. This is American-made equipment, 100%. Made in America. This stuff has an effect. Again, I'm questioning why is the cost of equipment to manufacture in America going up that drastically in 1 year? I'm not hating on the Trump administration. Again, I'm trying to point out that their policies need some adjustments. We should be focusing on finished goods coming in from overseas. We shouldn't be making the cost to buy equipment made in America for American manufacturers go up by this amount of money. $100,000 on the base price in 1 year.
It might be about time for you to start hating on Trump for this. Everything that guy detailed, as he called himself a Trump supporter, everything he detailed was about how it raises costs on him. American made, American created, American sold. Everything that they said he's supposed to do is going to cost him an extra $100,000 base price to run his business. It runs most people out of business. It might run him out of business, but he doesn't want to hate on the Trump administration. Why not? The Trump administration hates on you like this, as he glowingly says other things about how great he loves and you guys are great supporters of mine. You'll do anything for me. You notice it always comes back to him as he screws you over. It's his life. He's a con man criminal. That's who he is. It's all he knows how to do, because when he tries to do things normally, he fails at it because he doesn't know how to do anything. This guy's on a pedestal and it absolutely makes no sense behind it. There's one more. This rural Arkansas woman actually broke down maybe reasons why so many Republicans can't see that glaring fact that as they abandon Texas and focus on Trump's power, they're suffering and they don't give a damn. Here's details behind it. This Arkansas woman posted this over on TikTok. It doesn't get more clear than this.
I live in rural Arkansas. And if you don't understand why people in rural Arkansas or rural America vote Republican, it's because of fear and jealousy. Jealousy that somebody has it better than they do, that they work their asses off, and most of them do. The education here is at the bottom of the tier. Maternal mortality, low. Education, low. Quality of living, low. Infrastructure, super low. There's no industry. There's no hope for these young kids in rural Arkansas to have a job. Sarah Huckabee Sanders is treating this like her personal money bank. There is no infrastructure here. The roads are shit. So my closest grocery store, besides Walmart, is 2 hours away. So if I go that 2 hours to go to that grocery store, the roads I have to take are barely have enough room for two people to pass each other. There is no cell phone coverage for over an hour and a half of that ride. And there's no hope to get those roads fixed anytime soon because there's no money. I say that, but lo and behold, what did Sarah do as of July of 2025? She has loaned and bought $55 million worth of Israeli bonds. So she's loaned Israel $55 million with a catch to give them 100 more million by the end of the year. When her people are starving, they have no medical care. Teenage girls here are living at home pregnant with their moms. And they're living at home with their moms and their boyfriends because that's how rural America lives. There's nothing for these kids to look forward to. So why would they ever vote Republican? Because that's what they're told to do. $150 million would go a long way to feed, get medical attention, and up our so that our children here in Arkansas don't die in infancy and the mothers don't die in childbirth. And that is rural America. Sarah Huckabee Sanders. She is the worst governor at, okay, she's second. Our neighbor, Texas Abbott, is worse, but she's a close second.
You hear the situation that she detailed there? How far someone has to go to a grocery store if it's not Walmart. And the roads don't get them there. There's no cell phone service. There's no infrastructure. There's all these pregnant girls are living at home with their moms because, teenage pregnancy on the rise. It's not a black problem like they'd like to tell you, so you could think you have some kind of superiority over other folks. They got these folks in the middle of nowhere with no resources, and the money that the state generates, apparently from the governor, has been promised to killing more people overseas by being given to Israel to do the things that they're doing that we're seeing right in front of us. But as long as you convince enough people, yet they're better than the folks that they're paying $155 million from Sarah Huckabee Sanders' decision to kill more of, then you can just keep doing it. It's an easy gig. Sarah Huckabee Sanders is also the same governor that came in and tried to lower, may have even done it, I haven't seen an update on it, to lower the working age for children so that more of them can work just after school and in dangerous conditions where children have been harmed, plants and warehouses and things like that. And it eliminates more education so they don't have the opportunity to know what it is that's happening to them. This is who Republicans target because it's easy money, easy pickings, and an easy way to continue to take advantage of folks that they fooled into believing they're working for them when they're literally sucking them dry. This is why people despise this party. This is why people have so many horrible things to say about them. And it's also the reasons why when we see salacious things like this whole Epstein cover-up that Donald Trump is a part of, that he's the ringleader of, that's the reason why we'll exploit those things. Maybe you'll finally see something that you say you care about, that you can see the disastrous, evil nature of this guy who's running this party, who's a part of killing you and exploiting you for everything you got. And it's not even that much that you got. Really fast before I go to the Epstein stuff and specifically Alan Dershowitz, because what he said is ridiculous. For those of you who just jumped in, I'm trying to do a lot less yelling. I'm not sure if you've noticed that. I'm not going to do as much barking and yelling and fast talking. I really want you guys to hear so you can take in the importance of where we are as a society and in this country and where we're really close to no turning back. That's why these policies, these approaches that this party is pushing is trying to make sure that we can't get out of the hole that they've dug for decades. And when people are waking up, they're realizing people are waking up and they have to move even faster. So if you guys missed the first 15, 20 minutes here, I've been on since 15 before the hour. Apologies if you missed it, but there's so much happening. I've already covered 1.5 to 2 stories already. I woke up early and I was all over the place on things. I've got a lot to show you. So I'm glad you guys are here. The folks who showed up on time, my no more early nerds, glad you were here as well. My early nerds, which is about 10 to 15 of you guys, I appreciate you even more. If you missed the first couple stories, they're devastating. We're going to repost the clips of these back up on the watch list just after I'm done with this 1.5 hours, damn near, that I'm doing. And I want you guys to see what's going on. And if you see it, share it, like it, and subscribe. Okay, you guys, because I'm not sure if many people are detailing the degree to which this party's doing things to our country in every which way, not even just to the Democrats that they're supposed to hate, but directly to the Republican MAGA voters that they say they love. And they love them because they can use them, as we just saw. So if you guys are just now here, Allison Auld, see you there as well. Some more of the normal faces and names that I'm used to seeing once the normal hour starts. I'm glad you're here. My early folks, maybe you guys can catch them up on what it is that they've missed already. But let's jump straight over to Alan Dershowitz. He's talking about the Epstein cover-up, and he's on News Nation with Chris Cuomo. And he had this to say about the situation when it comes to why Donald Trump and this administration will not release these files, as if we don't already know. Check out his thoughts.
The mythology is there's a client list. He was getting underage girls for a big list of powerful guys, American and foreign. That's why they killed him, and Maxwell knows. Do you accept any of those?
Not a single one of them. I wish there were a client list. That my fondest wish is that there were a client list, because I wouldn't be on it. I wasn't his client. I was his lawyer. He was my client. There was no client list. Only 2 people testified that they were trafficked. Both of them have been found to be complete liars. One of them admitted that she made up stories about having videos of Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump. The other one denies the Holocaust and made up all kinds of stories about people. So there's no credible evidence, basically, about clients or about being passed around to people. That's just all made up. And this, I challenge anybody to come up with any testimony to the contrary of that. That's what's so strange about these files not being released.
Alan Dershowitz says that it's strange that these files have not been released because there's no client list. Alan Dershowitz, in case you guys forgot, was a good friend and attorney of one Jeffrey Epstein. He was around a lot of it. Matter of fact, I'm going to run you this video from this news report on him, and I'm going to run it to you guys live. It may not be on the clips afterwards because local news has issues with people reposting the things that they've got, and I understand that. But this is very illustrative of who Alan Dershowitz is. But don't forget, in that first part, he talked about how these alleged victims were criminals and liars, and they don't have much credibility at all. He's looking to downgrade any people who talked about what the guy who was in prison and eventually died in prison by 4 or 5 different descriptions of, and his right-hand woman, Ghislaine Maxwell, who just got downgraded from her 20-year sentence over to some Club Fed place right before she gets a pardon from Donald Trump. That whole situation, Alan Dershowitz was a part of it because he was close with them. Here's what he said a few years ago when talking about, again, those folks who have no credibility. One of them being Virginia Giuffre, who is the woman who was one of the biggest names that was exposing this and died earlier this year by suicide, they say.
She's an admitted prostitute. She's a serial liar.
Attorney Alan Dershowitz today lashed out at his accuser, Virginia Roberts, who swore in a new affidavit that he had sex with her while she was an underage, quote, sex slave of wealthy Palm Beach financier Jeffrey Epstein.
She's lied.
But she wasn't lying about being sexually abused by Jeffrey Epstein as a minor, correct?
That is between her and Jeffrey Epstein.
Roberts, one of dozens of underage girls allegedly recruited by convicted sex offender Epstein, also released new photos, including this one she says was taken by Epstein when she was about 15. In the new affidavit, she claims Dershowitz had sex with her 6 times at Epstein's residences, as well as on his jet and private island, and swore to seeming new details regarding alleged sex with Prince Andrew at Epstein's order when she was 17. The two are photographed here in London.
I can tell you she is still a prostitute. She is selling false stories now for money about me.
Do you have any concern calling her a prostitute when she was victimized at such a young age by this wealthy man?
She was not victimized. She made her own decisions in life.
And at the age of 15, some would say that's a little young and that she was taken advantage of.
I'm talking about the age of 19. Look, that's between her and the federal government and the people that she claims victimized her.
Dershowitz is a longtime friend of Epstein's who represented him in the criminal underage sex case.
Could you please? I never saw a young underage woman.
Yet Epstein's former butler swore under oath that Dershowitz was at Epstein's residences at the same time underage girls were there.
Were there young women in another part of the house giving massages when I wasn't around? I have no idea of that.
Dershowitz did say he once received a massage at Epstein's mansion, but from an adult woman.
I kept my underwear on during the massage. I don't like massages particularly.
Alan Dershowitz kept his underwear on during the massage at Jeffrey Epstein's mansion in his massage room, which we're going to get to. But this guy called the woman who earlier this year, they say killed herself, and who's the biggest name, who was unapologetic about putting her name and face on bringing down Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein, prostitute. And when asked, why would you say that about someone who was victimized and trafficked as a young teenager, she made her own choices. This is a glimpse into the kinds of people that Jeffrey Epstein surrounded himself with, and that potentially were on this list, that the same guy who he surrounded himself with, who wore his underwear during a massage in the sex trafficker's house, but it was by an older woman. These are the kinds of people who are looking to defend this whole thing. It might give you more of a reason to see why one of those people whose name is all over these files that's still being redacted and hidden and not shown to us, the president of the United States, is very much so hell-bent on denying everything that he promised he'd release, that he's not releasing now. This is how disgusting they talk about people. This is why Donald Trump also said that she was just someone that was stolen from him by Jeffrey Epstein, because they see these folks as property. And when asked about these children, not a zero, it's zero amount of sympathy or understanding of her being victimized in that situation. She's just a prostitute. That's the way they saw these kids. That's why they don't want this stuff released. Dershowitz was still on News Nation talking to Chris Cuomo, and they're trying to figure out and still talk about who these folks were. And look who he targets in on as the people that are not to be trusted and are the bad people in this situation.
What has to happen is the government has to go in front of the 3 judges who have sealed material. They're all in the Southern District of New York, and they all have material that's seized. That's where the details are. That's where the accusations are. It includes accusations by alleged victims, but also accusations against alleged victims. So the judge sealed them in order to protect victims. But some of the victims are also perpetrators and criminals and did terrible things. And so let's have everything open. The time has come. You know, sometimes it pays to seal things for a year or 2 years. Now it's been 25 years since these alleged events occurred, but these are not files that the Justice Department has access to.
But they do have stuff, right? The DOJ has stuff that they could release, right?
Everything. And, you know, you want to redact the name of a victim, okay, but also include the information about the victim so that we can assess the credibility. But judges have to unseal. The Justice Department has to reveal everything it has in its file that is not subject to sealing, and then let the public, let the media go dig deeply into these people, and let's get the true story. People who are innocent have nothing to hide.
He wants the names of the victims. Put it out there so we can know who they are, so we can dig deep and find out whatever it is we can find. And as he did in that same interview, demean and downgrade their credibility, so that we can say their stories. These victims that he says there's no such thing as a client list. Are they victims or is there a client list? What are they victims of if there's no client list? What did Jeffrey Epstein do? He doesn't know his back was always turned, but he was a buddy and an attorney for him. It's weird how that works, right? But he definitely wants to know their names. That's reasons why victims' names are a lot of times hidden, so that the perpetrators and the predators and the people who want to support the perpetrators and predators don't come after them to silence them, the way that Virginia Giuffre was silenced in death this year. Are we seeing how it works yet? There's one more clip of this guy on Cuomo's show, and what they can't figure out after all that cover for people like Donald Trump is why someone like Donald Trump keeps falling over himself to cover this up. If there's nothing wrong, why does he keep falling over himself? They can't figure it out. Watch this. This seems like a cartoon. There's absolutely zero. There's no kind of a thought process that you can put together where this can make any kind of sense. But they just say it because they feel they can tell you whatever it is that they want, and you have to believe it because they've got the keys. Watch this.
Why does this keep happening to Trump, Dersh? I'm not making him a victim. I'm saying he says, I'm going to release the UAP stuff. Biden was an idiot. Then he doesn't. Gives us the same thing he did. JFK, we're going to release everything. It's all coming out this time. They hoodwinked me the first time, Pompeo and those guys. Not this time. Nothing happens. Now it's this. He says, I have nothing to worry about. I knew the guy, but I never had anything to do with the disgusting stuff. And as soon as I found out about it, I blocked him from my club. So then why isn't he saying, I don't want to hear anything else? Put it out.
He's wrong. I don't know why he isn't leading the campaign to put things out. There's nothing in there. I know what's in the files. There's nothing in there incriminating in any way, as far as I know, about Donald Trump. So I can testify that Bill Clinton knew Jeffrey Epstein, of course, knew him well enough to have a 15-minute call way before any of these allegations came out. But there's nothing in the file to suggest that he did anything wrong, that he was ever on the island, that he ever had anything or did anything improper. But everybody wants to point the finger at somebody else. And look, I agree with the governor. This is not going to go away. Mm-hmm. And the excuse that we're going to prosecute somebody, the statute of limitations is mostly over. And even if you are, sacrifice that. The Americans' public's right to know, need to know, in this case comes first. Everything come out, and the president should lead the campaign and start tomorrow saying, I'm ordering my attorney general to go in front of every judge, seek everything out there.
But he won't. And I think Alan Dershowitz knows that he won't. This is supposed to go to the Southern District of New York and see this panel of 3 judges, and they're supposed to talk about this. And when he admitted, oh, but they're not going to do that, and if they go another route, they're still not going to do that either. If you already know that, why are you calling for that to happen? Is this a delay game? Is this for you to say that you're trying so hard because you want information to come out when no, it won't come out through those avenues? But the one avenue that was promised for this stuff to come out, you just can't figure out why the guy who's controlling it won't do it. I mean, he's wrong, but it's not going to come out. Let me just keep acting like I actually want this stuff to come out, and I can say all the right things right before I say these victims have no credibility, despite the fact that the 2 biggest ringleaders of this whole sex ring, one is dead from in jail, and the other one was in jail for 20 years before she's close to her pardon from the guy who won't release it. Yo, it's really not that hard to see. It really isn't, especially when that same guy told anyone who's still talking about this to shut the F up. And why are you still on this? Nobody cares, he said. It's probably best that Alan Dershowitz stays off of TV. It might be best that he stays off of TV. As a matter of fact, this is what started my day. This is what started my day and got me up at like 6 a.m. to go through all this. I read through this article in deep detail. It's a bit of a lengthy article, but I want to show you the parts that highlighted it to me. There was an article from the New York Times, and it said, a look inside Jeffrey Epstein's Manhattan lair. Manhattan lair, which he bought in 1998 from some other rich person, and he redecorated it to be this weird compound where many of these nefarious things happened. Apparently they didn't happen at his island where no one knows anything about and no one ever showed up because there's no list and there's also no files surrounding all this. But all these details that I'm about to go through somehow still happened. Look at how creepy this is. I would scroll through this whole article, but I want to show you guys the highlights of what it is that I saw. First off, this is just the headline area. I want to show you guys for this picture here. So there's some weird, this is like a bronze structure within the atrium as they walked in. This is what the New York Times profiled throughout this article. It was a 7-story townhouse. And apparently that's some like bride sculpture or bronze figure hanging onto a rope as if, I don't know, she's escaping. I'm not sure what the meaning is. It's artwork, but one thing that it definitely is that it's creepy. Let's go to this next aspect of this. I want you guys to see this. This is crazy, this whole article. Please bear with me because there's a lot that I want to go through that this article pointed out and pictures involved. Let's go. So it started off at the beginning. They said, as a gift for Jeffrey Epstein's 63rd birthday, friends sent letters in tribute to the wealthy financier and convicted sex offender. Several shared a common theme, recounting the dinner gatherings that Mr. Epstein regularly hosted at his palatial townhouse on Manhattan's Upper East Side. They found things that folks who visited saw and said. Ehud Barak, former Prime Minister of Israel, and his wife noted the great diversity of guests. Quote, there's no limit to your curiosity, they wrote in their message to his birthday book. And this was compiled with others in January of 2016. Think about the year. Quote more, you are like a closed book to many of them, but you know everything about everyone. They're pointing out right then in the birthday book, which was supposed to be, I guess, apparently just to Jeffrey Epstein, we know you know everything about everyone. I mean, nothing necessarily nefarious or directly criminal there, but he definitely knows things about everyone, the guy that we know everything about now. Here's more from this article. This is crazy. There's more people named here. The media mogul Mortimer Zuckerman suggested ingredients for a meal that would reflect the culture of the mansion, a simple salad, and whatever else, quote, would enhance Jeffrey's sexual performance. It's like they know what he's all about. And the director Woody Allen described how the dinners reminded him of Dracula's castle, where Lugosi has 3 young female vampires who service the place. That's what Woody Allen wrote. And I think we know who Woody Allen, what Woody Allen's all about. In case you didn't, there's just look up Woody Allen and incestual, predatory, pedophile behavior. Just search that up in case you don't know anything about Woody Allen, one of his good friends. This is the full letter that Woody Allen wrote about, and it was mostly about the food there. Go check out this article. It's worth reading. So I just want to show you guys the image of that there first. This is wild. More. At least one other MAGA luminary also visited the townhouse, Stephen Bannon. A former advisor to Mr. Trump and an online media personality who has said that he videotaped hours of interviews at the mansion with Mr. Epstein in 2019. Famed photos of Mr. Bannon, including a mirror selfie snapped by Mr. Epstein, were kept in at least 2 rooms in that same mansion. He was close with Steve Bannon. He was close with Donald Trump. He's close with Bill Clinton. He's close with so many people. It's countless numbers of people. It's not like you can name 5 people. That's why this thing is so extensive that they're saying doesn't actually exist. And many of these folks, I'm sure, just buddies and friends, came over for entertainment. It's in the middle of New York, hung out, saw the vast gifts and palatial setup that he had there, and were impressed by it. That's what rich, connected people do. While, folks in Arkansas, like we pointed out earlier, are having trouble getting on the road to go an hour to the nearest grocery store. Just want to show you where the 2 sides of this nation are sitting right now as they continue to describe their relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. Here's some of the pictures that the New York Times pointed out were involved there as well, too. Said there was Mr. Epstein. This is the caption down at the bottom. There was Mr. Epstein smiling alongside Pope John Paul II, Mick Jagger, Elon Musk, and Fidel Castro in some of these pictures. As you can see, they circled those 4 faces that are involved there. He has framed pictures of so many people to show off how many people he was really connected with and who he knew. I mean, if you've got connections to people, why not show it off? It's pretty impressive, right? The whole point is to impress your fellow rich friends. More. Also pictured were Larry Summers, former President Bill Clinton, and Richard Branson. As you see those circles around those faces, there's all kinds of pictures there. You see him standing on the at the edge on the right-hand side there, in different kinds of garb with other folks. This is a worldwide situation. There's more. There's more pictures. This is, again, the New York Times expose on this mansion that nobody knew anything about. Nearby was the photo from 2000 showing Mr. Epstein with Mr. Trump and future First Lady, minus Ghislaine Maxwell. If you guys have seen that photo before, it's the 4 of them standing there. And apparently there was a falling out between him and Ghislaine at some point, and he was upset. So in that picture, he illustrated just how much he was upset with her and didn't want her in those pictures. But again, he's all over the place with so many different people. These people, there's the right there, there's the just above the circled picture, there's Steve Bannon. I believe they're talking with either Bill Gates or Woody Allen. It's hard to tell from that angle and how far off it is. They were just having parties. All these rich and connected people were hanging out in his palace. There's more pictures. Next to that was a framed dollar bill signed by Bill Gates, possibly as payment of a bet, because there was a quote on it. That's what he wrote. He said, "I was wrong." And that writing was written all over George Washington's face on that $1 bill. It's like we see it in movies sometimes between rich people. In fact, specifically, the movie that I saw it in was the Eddie Murphy movie. I want to say Coming to America. It's not that. It's the movie with Dan Aykroyd where they flipped the script on the finance guys and the Wall Street guys who were screwing them over, and they bet $1 of whether or not they could change these 2 trading places, whether or not they could change these 2 guys' places in life and make one guy who's a connected Wall Street guy become like some kind of criminal, while they take what they took as Eddie Murphy's character, this criminal, and make him a successful Wall Street guy. They bet $1. And that was apparently the bet between Epstein and Bill Gates. Again, they're just buddies. There's no incriminating evidence here. I'm just showing you guys how the guy lived of the people that we know about. Here's one more set of pictures that they then pointed out here. I'm going to read what they point out is there. So in this office, according to photos reviewed by the New York Times, Mr. Epstein showcased a green first edition of the book Lolita. If you guys don't know about Lolita, which I didn't either, it's a 1955 novel in which an intellectual develops a sexual obsession with a 12-year-old girl and repeatedly rapes her. Atop a wooden sideboard were more framed photos, including one of Mr. Epstein with Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. Just think about it. there's this brashness, there's this direct nature to how you feel like you're untouchable, the same way that people who are connected and untouchable act like it when they're around their buddies and their friends. He'll have a book of Lolita sitting there, first edition, probably the most expensive version that you can find. It's probably an exquisite shape because it's like his Bible, where the story's about this weird guy obsessing over a 12-year-old girl that he victimized repeatedly. Because, that's nice casual reading. That's something to show off to your friends. Am I right? Here's some more pictures of the house. This is where it gets creepier and even more creepier somehow. Mounted on a corner above the bed was a surveillance camera, is what that photo shows. You see the circle above at the top. There was make you guys a little bit, I don't know if it makes it bigger here if I get rid of myself. No, you don't. There's a surveillance camera that's over the bed and is in the bedroom area. And then also the article pointed out that this is now nearby near the spa area where massages were held, which other nefarious, disgusting activities happened that people found out when they found out about Jeffrey Epstein. More pictures of the adjoining room that was next to that bedroom. As you can see, the motif is quite similar. There was a second camera that can be seen in this room as well. Not sure if it's on the back end, if it takes other angles and shots of what it is that's going on in this room. But again, man, how many people live like this and show off their riches and their disgusting natures of the way that they did the things that they did? There's only a couple more here, you guys. Now, don't forget, there was cameras all over the place, or at least specifically in that room. So several of Mr. Epstein's victims have said that the mansion was outfitted with a network of hidden video cameras. Again, just pause for a second. I want you to wonder, or just consider, if there's a network of hidden cameras, is there anything recorded? Maybe we know who was in different areas of the house, who committed maybe some kinds of acts that this guy committed. They're so buddy with him. But I forgot, there's no such thing as a file. There's no such thing as victims. They're all liars, cheaters, and stealers. And all the people who are rich and connected, all the way up to the president of the United States who's covering this up, have nothing to show. Zero. There's nothing. Even Steve Bannon, as I mentioned earlier, he said he's got hours. He's mentioned he's got hours of interviews with this guy, but he's not going to release them. Maybe at the right time. Still, I'm sorry, back to this, her message. So in the massage room were paintings, by the way, graphic descriptions here happening. So in this massage room were paintings of naked women, a large silver ball and chain, and shelves stocked with lubricant. That's according to the photos that were reviewed by the New York Times. Mr. Epstein regularly directed teenage girls, some recruited from middle schools in Queens, to massage him while he was naked. Sometimes he masturbated in front of them. That's according to court records and interviews with victims. Sometimes he raped or assaulted them, but no surveillance cameras were visible in the photos of the massage room, is what the New York Times also pointed out. I want you guys to go back and remember what we were just talking about with Alan Dershowitz, and how he got that massage, but he kept his underwear on, and it was an older lady, but then his back was always turned. But he definitely, I guess there was underage girls walking around, but I didn't think anything different about it. There was just people who signed and submitted notes to his birthday book to talk about how he eats things to make sure he has great sexual performance, and also has books about a weird guy that was fiending over a 12-year-old girl before he assaulted her, and then has massage rooms with no cameras, with bedrooms with hidden cameras, and a whole network of cameras throughout the house, and how everyone talked about how he loved him some young girls, and also had an island where he flew people out to for whatever business they had in hand. If none of it happened, why was the dude in jail, and why did he die there? Last little bit here. All I'm doing is showing, I'm just putting the pieces together and showing exactly what it looked like. Last one. The Times also reviewed 7 birthday messages given to Mr. Epstein in 2016. That same, another birthday book. In addition to those from Mr. Zuckerman, Mr. Allen, that's Woody Allen, and Mr. Barak, there were letters from the linguist Noam Chomsky and his wife. Also, Joichi Ito, an entrepreneur who years later would resign from MIT and the board of the New York Times Company because of his ties to Jeffrey Epstein. And also Lawrence M. Cross, a prominent physicist. Martin Nowak, a Harvard biologist, also contributed science-themed poem to that same birthday book. Everyone loved them some Jeffrey Epstein, loved his parties, loved the meals, loved the extravagance. There was magicians there at times. I'm telling you guys, read the whole article. It's not that long, but it's long enough for you to be disgusted by everything that was happening and what they showed there that was going on. Sometimes you have to dig deep into these things and then see the network of how these things work. It's right there in front of you. It's right there in front of you. And they expect people to not believe any of this is happening. But what they want you to believe is that somehow Donald Trump the election was stolen from him, or somehow all the people that they're running out of the country and up on the streets are violent criminals. They want you to believe cartoonish things, but don't want you to believe that this network of sexual trafficking that happened under Epstein, who was convicted of it, along with Ghislaine Maxwell, who's about to be pardoned for it in order to help him act like no one knows what's happening. They don't want you to believe that stuff, because first, they think enough of you are stupid, and of the ones that aren't stupid, they just don't care. They say, why are you still talking about this? You got to read the article. You got to read the article. So I got one more story. Like I said, I needed an hour and 15 to 20 minutes to get through all this, but it's still somewhat connected. Also, thank you guys for being here as well. I'm sorry, it's such a disgusting, depressing topic list that we're going through, but we did start with what's going on in Texas, some details about how these leadership in Texas is still treating the constituents there that they're completely ignoring and actually threatened. Go back and check that out. We're going to be posting that later on the watch list. But I've got one more story that's somewhat connected to what we were just talking about. Here is Donald Trump, and apparently one of his biggest nemesis is CNN's Caitlin Collins, who won't get her foot off of his neck when asking him about his constant cover-up for this Epstein situation. And in this one question and answer, she asked him specifically about Ghislaine Maxwell and how his attorney, his personal attorney, who's now the deputy at the Department of Justice, the number 2 at the Department of Justice, how he went and visited with her in secret, and they came up with some kind of a plan. See if you have any reason to believe anything this guy has to say.
One, were you aware of and did you personally approve the prison transfer for Ghislaine Maxwell that your Justice Department?
I didn't know about it at all. No, I read about it just like you did.
And do you believe that she is
It's not a very uncommon thing.
Do you believe that she's credible to be listening to? Your Deputy Attorney General sat down with her recently.
Well, let me tell you, he's a very talented man. His name is Todd Blanche. He's a very legitimate person, very high. I just a very highly thought of person, respected by everybody. And I didn't talk to him about it, but I will tell you that whatever he asked would be totally appropriate. And it's not an uncommon thing to do that. And I think he probably wants to make sure that, people that should not be involved or aren't involved are not hurt by something that would be very, very unfortunate, very unfair to a lot of people. But I will say this, Todd Blanche is one of the most highly respected people you'll ever meet. So I know this. I didn't discuss it with him, but anything he talked about with her or the fact that he did that, not unusual, number one, and most importantly is something that would be totally above board.
Just flipping reality on its face. What he did when Todd Blanche, his personal attorney, who's now at the Justice Department, went and spoke secretly with Ghislaine Maxwell, whatever he did, I have no idea. First off, I learned about it just like you did. In fact, I was watching you on CNN, Caitlin, when you were talking about how Ghislaine Maxwell got downgraded to that other facility, which never happens when someone has that kind of conviction on record to then be sent to that place. It's totally above board. I have no idea what Todd Blanche did. I don't tell Todd Blanche anything. He's just my personal attorney. Why would Todd Blanche do anything that helps my ass out? I don't know about it. I was just sitting there playing video games, bro. I have no idea how this whole thing happened. In fact, I'm a little bit surprised that Ghislaine Maxwell, who I just said I'm ready to pardon, I'm surprised that she got downgraded to a minimum security camp facility where then she was given these demands to us so that it can be an exchange for what it is that I need from her. But you're supposed to believe that. And he spoke glowingly of Todd Blanche. I have no idea about him, what he said and what he's doing, but I can tell you this, anything he said and that he's doing is on the total open up. Everybody respects and loves him. Who's everybody? I know a lot of people who don't respect this guy because of things that he's doing right now for your ass. Matter of fact, in case you guys forgot, there was this prison consultant who talked about how, as he said, it's totally not rare. It's very common for folks like this to get transferred to a minimum security prison camp. Here's someone who knows what they're talking about. I ran this the other day, but maybe in this particular context, it's worth seeing again.
Question, it is a much more difficult place to be for anyone, for any offender. And certainly given her charges and the length of her sentence, it made sense that she was designated to Tallahassee. Where she is now at Bryan is a minimum security camp. There are no cells. There are no guard towers. The inmates, and I did speak to a client there today who said she hadn't seen Ms. Maxwell yet, but they have pods. So there's maybe 2 or 3 girls in a pod. Women are allowed outside from 6 in the morning to 9 o'clock at night. There is no controlled movement. There's much more in terms of activities to do. I understand there's even a yoga course that's taught there. So it is a diametrically different situation from where she came. I understand why they might have transferred her. There's probably, anybody that's cooperating for the government might have a target on their back, and it made sense to move her. Why she was moved to a camp, I don't know. And that is a very difficult move to accomplish under any circumstances.
Why is it difficult? What do you mean?
Somebody like Ms. Maxwell, from my understanding, had at least 2 management variables associated with her case. So a management variable is a policy the Bureau of Prisons has that said that if you have a sentence greater than 10 years, you can't go to a camp. If you have greater than 20 years, you might have to go to a medium level security. If you have a charge of violence or any sexual offense, you're not typically eligible for a minimum security camp. The fact that she had at least 2 of these variables waived, one that she had more than 10 years remaining on her sentence, and certainly the charge itself is very, very atypical. I've had clients with 1 or both of those charges, and getting a management variable waived for anyone within the Bureau of Prisons is next to impossible. To have 2 management variables waived, highly unusual.
It's highly unusual, according to someone who works this life, who's a professional at it, who's actually had clients who had 1 or 2 of these charges. It's highly unlikely, but the guy who's covering everything up said it's very common. Which one would you like to believe? And if you believe the liar, think about why you want to believe that liar and not pay attention to any kind of reality or the truth. But he wants to tell you that it's common so that you won't think, yo, this is weird. There's a reason why he lies. And once you figure it out, you may go, why would you want to lie about that? It's like you don't want to let us know what's happening. So again, remember what he said, the president, about how common this is, that he moved her down. He had no idea. Todd Blanche is a great human being. Everyone vouches for him. He's on the up and up. He's got so much heart. The guy is the most honest man I've ever met. But again, there's people that talk about the reasons why this might happen, and exactly how uncommon this is and how this is very disruptive to normal processes. I feel like he's a little bit dishonest, but don't let me tell you. Let's let a professional tell you that actually knows about this. Dave Orenberg was talking about this.
I can't overstate it, Brianna. It's as if the #2 executive at CNN was conducting this interview with me instead of you. Like, what? It never happens. Also, he's not going to be knowledgeable about this case like the line prosecutors who actually handled her case, like Maureen Comey, but she was fired. But there are others who could do this, which makes me believe this is a lot about perhaps some politics involved, like maybe to protect the president, to get a deal with Ghislaine Maxwell that she would get some immunity now and maybe a hidden part in the future, some sort of implication that she would be part in the future if she comes out and says that the president is exonerated, was not involved in any criminal activity.
And that's how these things work. So why is it people who know what they're talking about are wrong, but the people who don't know what they're talking about and have every incentive to cover this up somehow do know what they're talking about over normalcy and who knows how long, decades of precedent in how these things work. You shouldn't believe them. But I want to focus in on one more time on Todd Blanche, who's on the up and up, and Trump has no idea what he's saying or doing, but the things that he's saying and doing must be perfect. There's a reason why he said that. Because again, he hung out with Ghislaine Maxwell's attorney and Ghislaine Maxwell for hours, and they answered all the questions that they had, he said. Here's Ghislaine Maxwell's attorney talking about that meeting with the most honest man in the world, Todd Blanche, who's Donald Trump's personal attorney.
We had a very productive day today with the Deputy Attorney General, Todd Blanche, and Ghislaine Maxwell. First, we want to thank the Deputy Attorney General for being so professional with all of us and for meeting with us. He took a full day and asked a lot of questions, and Ms. Maxwell answered every single question. She never stopped, she never invoked a privilege. She never declined to answer. She answered all the questions truthfully, honestly, and to the best of her ability. And that's all the comment we're going to have today about the meeting. We don't want to comment about the substance of the meeting for obvious reasons, and we'll go from there. So thank you all so much.
Will you guys be coming back for a second day?
We're not going to comment on that now. Thank you.
After that productive meeting with Ghislaine Maxwell's attorney and Todd Blanche, she was soon whisked away to that minimum security prison camp. I see how productive it was. It was quite productive with the guy who's there to just interview her and get more information out of her. Did you guys know this? Todd Blanche, that very honest guy that Donald Trump was just talking about, when he met with that attorney, with that defense attorney for Ghislaine Maxwell, did you guys know that they're best friends? Here, they're like best friends.
David, and I mean, in all seriousness, to you, I know a lot of people that have worked with you. I know a lot of people who know you very well. I now consider you a friend and someone who I know pretty well. You are by far the best out there, and I'll always say yes to this podcast. It would be the first three-peat.
Let's do a three-peat.
David, and I mean, in all seriousness, to you.
It's going to be a three-peat. He loves him. So let's meet in private and talk about this very important case that's protecting the president of the United States. I have one last clip because, you know, in case people want to believe everything that Donald Trump has to say, they're so tight. I mean, they just talk about random things.
People took a picture and saw the candy and stuff in the war room. Was it McDonald's for lunch every single day, or did you get something else?
Oh, no. Well, first of all, I didn't have lunch one day. Because
You didn't eat during. You have to eat during the trial. What do you mean?
I ate in the morning and at night. Well, so the food, look, the President Trump's team takes care of everybody. Like, everybody gets food. You know, there's a lot of food. It's not always McDonald's. There's a variety. There's pizza, and there's other non-healthy alternatives to McDonald's.
They can yuck it up about the dinners that were given during trial that Donald Trump lost and had 34 felony convictions on his record for, that they completely ignore now. But we were given more than McDonald's pizza sometimes. Oh, this is so funny, Todd. You know what? I love you too, David. But trust me, everything that they were talking about was on the up and up. That's it, you guys. We got a couple more minutes before the damage work comes back. Glad you guys showed up. And those of you that were early, I'm also glad you were here. The whole hour and 20 minutes or so was not just about all this Epstein stuff, although it's very important. It was also about how these guys are ruining so many people's lives directly as they say one thing and actually do the other. Please go back, check it out if you had the opportunity to. And if you can't check out the whole thing, these will all be broken down. They'll be uploaded to the watch list page as well. Maybe another morning will be like this, where I can come on for another hour and 20 minutes or so to talk about all of this stuff. Every day, there's a deluge of things that you can talk about that this administration is doing to this country, and it's horrific. There's another development probably happening right now when it comes to the way they're destroying these folks in this country. Glad you guys were here. So, Henry D., good to see you as well. Oh, man, it's wild. but maybe we need more long form things to talk about it in this much depth and detail rather than small tidbits that doesn't give you the full story behind how these things are developing, how disgusting these people are that absolutely hate this country. I got a few more minutes. Go over and hang out with John for a second on the damage report. If you guys got the opportunity to, thank you to the Dragons out there. Jump in there and hit them with the watch list watch party. What do they call it? The raid over there on Twitch. Let them know that we got all effed up over here and we're a little bit tipsy. So we're wild. In fact, I might see you guys over there for a second too. Appreciate you. Maybe a little bit better news tomorrow. I mean, one can only hope. If you guys like what we're doing, of course, like, subscribe, share it. Check out the clips afterwards. Like, subscribe, share it. Come find me on Instagram. Say what's up. Let me know what's on your mind. Let me know what types of things you want to have talk about. I've already taken some story from a couple of folks already. Glad you guys are here. You guys help things go. We'll see you guys next time. Make that tomorrow.